So again, this is the series that we're going through on how to use the Revit Express tools to help clean up your project. And on the first session, 1 of 5, we went through and kind of reviewed some of the issues that people go through, the issues about administering your project standards and how difficult that can sometimes be, how some of Revit standards are simple but they're tedious to configure. Revit has actually no tools in it natively to enforce standards, and sometimes tracking and managing these standards over time can be difficult. So we kind of covered what some of those issues were. If you want to go back and see a bit more detailed description of that, hit up our video up on YouTube there. So we were talking about some of the solutions, and I missed one of them actually in the previous presentation. Import Link Manager there, the second bullet point on the left, was actually one that got omitted accidentally from my PowerPoint. And oddly enough, it's the one we're talking about today. We're going to talk about how within the Revit environment, sometimes your projects can get a little squirrely or off track with the links and the imported content, how to track that down. You know, sometimes when you receive models from outside sources, you might need to do a little bit of link and import management there to help reduce some file sizes. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. By the way, this is a 5-part series. We are today on part 2 of 5. But you'll notice there's a lot more than 5 tools here in the list. If you are interested in seeing a session on each of these individual tools, in the comments after the presentation today, when you give your feedback, certainly let us know if you're interested in possibly a 9 or 10-part series on these solutions. We already covered the model compare feature, so that would be part 1 of the previous one. But if you want to see the rest of these tools and detailed views of how they help with the management of projects and cleanup, certainly give us feedback on that. We have a couple that we want to highlight here as the series continues, but again, your feedback is important to us. So we planned for 5, but we could certainly do 9 if that was interesting to you. So let's again dig in here to the Import and Link Manager environment. So one of the features about Import Link Manager that I found to be incredibly valuable, especially like if I was a contractor and I was receiving a lot of models from the architect, the structural and mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers, and I get those models on a regular basis. When I open them up, if I need to see the linked information in there for reference, sometimes I have to go through a remapping process. And even as a contractor slash designer, there are a lot of times when you have to keep updating links from models that you receive in. And the Import Link Manager can actually help you update those links even before the model is open. Could be not even open yet, could be just sitting there on your network, you just downloaded it from the FTP site, and you want to update those links before the model's open so that when you open up that model, those links are up to date and ready to go. And Import Link Manager can actually help you with that process. Also, after you're in the model and you're taking a look around it, if you use the Import Link Manager, you can check the pin status and the work set configuration of all of the links and imports right in that interface, right there, and modify those pinned and work set status on the fly while you're in the Import Link interface, instead of having to track down the actual object, clicking on it, checking it out, changing the work set or changing the pin status. You can do that right in the Import Link Manager window. So it's 2 of those things that are really critical and kind of querying across the board if they're all pinned or not. This is a really easy way of checking that. Also, and this is an incredibly important step, and this is one of those things, we're talking project cleanup that can go awry in people's projects. I've seen this happen a lot lately where users, instead of linking models, or maybe they linked them originally, have imported DWG files into the actual production model. And that has ballooned file sizes in a lot of cases. Revit does not like imported DWGs in a production model. Now, importing DWGs has its place, don't get me wrong. It's a good feature, especially when I'm managing details and trying to build up like a detail container file. But live in my production model, I'm not a big fan of imported DWGs. I'd much rather be them to be links. And the Import Link Manager can actually help you find imported DWGs, find the views that they're in, and in some cases, in most cases, swap those DWGs from imports and turn them into links. So you can actually fix the problem that might have been generated there. So 4 major features that Import Link Manager can help you out with in the cleaning and maintenance of your projects. So with that, what I want to do is actually jump into Revit, and we're going to take a look at how this can work. So I'm going to go here into the Revit application, and I happen to have the model open that I want to work with today, but I want to close this so I can show you one of those earlier features right away. So I'm going to go ahead and just save this. Well, I'm not going to save it. I'm just going to cancel this. Just shut it down. Let's close. Don't save the project. Give up control. Give up the ownership of whatever I might have. And I'm just going to open up a start from scratch project that doesn't even matter. I have to have some kind of a project open. Maybe I'll just start a new project here from the construction template. It doesn't even matter. I have to have something open here so that I can see my actual toolbars up here at the top for the Revit Express tools, and I can open up this Import Link Manager tool right here. So there's my Import Link Manager. Now this particular project, because it's just a start from scratch project, doesn't have actually any links in it yet. And that's fine. That's not what I'm looking to do. What I want to do is use this feature here. It's called Load Unload Files. With the Load Unload Files tool, what it'll do is it'll open up this little extra dialog box. And this is where the power for me reloading the actual links into my model comes from. So I'm going to go ahead and open a project from here that's separate from the one that's open right now. Just open project. I'm going to browse for my central model here. So I think I have on my desktop a little shortcut to this. Let's go grab my building. I've got these Revit models, and maybe this is the one that I just recently downloaded. I can open this up, and it'll show me all of the links, not imports, but links that happen to appear in this file. And actually, by the way, guys, notice this in 2015, you have the ability to change the path of Revit keynotes and the uniform format classifications. You can actually use the Import Link Manager here in the Load Unload Files to actually change the loaded path of where those two components are as well before even opening up this model. So if you have received a keynotes or uniform format file that you're dealing with, you can actually repath that through this tool also. But if I'm looking at these Revit models down here, I could actually reload these. Like notice right here, this particular model, this mechanical and electrical file, they're loading from the T drive, which maybe on my system I don't have a T drive. So what I want to do is actually reload these two. So I'm going to load from, in this case it's the mechanical model, and I want to specifically use the new mechanical model, not 2015, but the one that has the new date and timestamp on it. So I'm going to load a different file entirely and open that one up. So it's going to go ahead and load that from the same directory. It's going to change the path to a relative path, and I'll do the same thing for this next one here, load from. I'm going to grab my electrical file, again, the 2015-0120. I'll open that one up. So it's going to load that model in. So it tells me that it's going to be loaded. It was originally unloaded, but now it's going to be loaded. So the desired status is loaded. Previously, it was not. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this. Haven't even opened the model. It's going to tell me that these changes were made, and it will take effect the next time I open up that document. So instead of me sitting there and reloading this and waiting for the 5 minutes it takes Revit to regenerate all the views in which that mechanical model maybe exists, and then coming back and redoing this one here as well, I can just make those two path changes really quick, and the next time anybody opens up this model, it's already going to be repathed, and it saves me some time. So huge benefit there. So that's already been done. So now I'm going to shut these files down, get rid of that little junk file that I don't need anymore, and I'm going to go ahead and open up my architectural central file here. I'll go ahead and open that up. I'm going to save this model as a central in its current location. This is actually a great process to do when you receive models from like an FTP site, because it forces you to save this file as the central when you open it up after making a change like that. So it saves you from doing the whole detach and resave. It automatically saves on top of itself. So it saves you like 4 or 5 clicks in just part of your process. So this now is my actual central file. And if I take a look at those linked paths, they should be updated to the new location. So if I go to the out-of-the-box Import Link Manager, I can see that these files here have actually been reloaded. They have the new file name for both the mechanical and the electrical here, and they're both saved path as a relative path to my local directory. So it's updated that on these files when the model was even closed. In fact, if I go into my Revit Express tools here, Import Link Manager, here I can also see that those paths have been updated. So it's pulling off of my, in this case, my local computer, but it has those mechanical and electrical models up to date. And I can also, by the way, now take a look at the next area here, which is looking at the work sets for those two. So I can make sure that the mechanical model, if I pull this over here a little wider, just making sure I have the right file selected. The mechanical file here is actually on the mechanical work set. I find that to be kind of important. I like making sure that the work sets are correct. The electrical model here is on the electrical work set, structural models on the structural work set. So that was what I was intending, and that's what's all set up now. And finally here I can take a look at the other portion, which is those DWGs in my model, those rogue DWGs. Sometimes imported drawings are the hardest to find. You know you've got them. There's probably an issue in your file somewhere. You're not entirely sure where it is or why you're having a problem with it. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this one. This one here is a link. That's a linked DWG, and that's fine. This interior model here, this B03, which is probably my third floor, is also a link. But then I've got these 3 imports. Somebody went through and took these individual drawing files. If I expand this name out over here, it looks like I have a lower level, a 01, which is my first floor, second floor, third floor, and fourth floor. When they brought these 5 drawings in, it was either brought in by different people or in different inconsistent ways. 2 were as links, 2 were as imports, 2 like visible in all views. And I can tell it's visible in all views because, well, first of all, the host view says all views. And the work set here has a particular work set. Oh, look at that. Those DWGs are on the interior work set. That's not what I want at all. I want them on my CAD Link work set. And then this first one down here in the basement, this was actually an import, but it was to the current view only. And so it was actually only visible in that one view, which was the basement level floor plan existing. So I can do, again, a quick audit across my entire project and find out imports versus links, where they're at, what views they're in. And in this case, I can find out exactly where this BLL drawing file happens to be. There was a question that did pop in, by the way, when I was using this load and unload files. I didn't see this pop up while I was there, but there was a question that popped in and said, when I'm doing this and I'm opening up a project, am I actually in the central file? And the answer is yes. Yes, I am. And while you're doing this load unload files process here, you want to make sure nobody else is in the central file. They can be linking it, but they cannot be in it. Because as you saw when I opened it up, when I used the open command, it asked me to resave it as the central. So basically this is the first step that you would do when you are either bringing a file out of archive or downloading off of an FTP site or taking over a model. When you do these repath the loaded files here, you definitely want to make sure nobody's in that central when you're running that task. If you were going to do just one reload for one link in one situation, you can probably use the out-of-the-box Insert Manage Links dialog, the one that comes from Autodesk. But if you're going to reload more than one, you're doing a major reload task, it's probably a really good idea to use this load unload files. But when you're doing that, and the reason why is because it's a lot faster, but you need to get everybody out of the model. And generally speaking, when most companies are doing this task of reloading a whole bunch of models, it's because they've just received it and nobody's in it yet anyway. So it shouldn't be a problem for you. If you do have any workflow issues with that, certainly feel free to give us a call, and I'd like to talk with you about it and why it's an issue, and we can take a look at possibly augmenting our workflow. But generally speaking, this has been really clean workflow for most of our clients that are using it already. All right, let's get back to the DWGs issue here. I want to take this basement lower level linked, or rather imported DWG, and I want to convert this from an imported drawing to be a linked drawing. Now, this process normally would require me to go in there, find the drawing file in the first place, and delete it from my project. And then I would have to relink that drawing file manually using the import, link CAD file, make sure it comes in the same spot, make sure I pin it, make sure I put it on the right work set, and all those things. But here, with the Import Link Manager, I can grab this lower level drawing file and I can do swap or reload it from. What it'll do is swap an import to a link or a link to an import if it's a DWG, and then it'll also reload it from a new location. If it happens to be an import, it has to know where it's pathed to. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it to do that. I'm going to swap and reload this from right now. Pulls up a dialog box here, happen to come up on my other monitor. But I'm going to go ahead and browse to a different file path. So I'm going to go to my my main project folder here where I've got my CAD Links file or my CAD files directory. And I want to grab that same BLL drawing file here. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Now I've got some other options here, like I can change, some of the insertion things, like if it's linked or imported, so I can swap that right here. I'm going to change this to a link. I can change how my colors were brought in. If I have a specific standard, maybe this was brought in originally as preserved, which it was. I could change it to black and white if I wanted to, or modify this however I wanted. I can also modify the layers selection here, so while it's relinking this in, it's going to either be all or visible. In this case, I'll just do all. You can also, again, augment the imported units. And then I also have the option of orienting to view and correcting lines that are off axis after the fact. So I can actually update things if I need to. So if I had a civil model, by the way, linked in, hopefully it wasn't a current view only, but if I have a civil drawing linked in from my Civil 3D team, and I wanted to create a terrain off of that, if I imported it or linked it incorrectly the first time, I can correct all these things after the fact, which is nice. So ultimately here I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Again, I'm converting this to a link. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And the Import Link Manager is going to go through the process of converting this into a link. So it's going to go find that view, import it, convert it to a link, and now that basement lower level DWG file is now linked. Turn it from an import at the top of my list into a link down here in the mix. And at the same time, though, it's still actually associated to a particular view. Now, I want to find that view. If this happened to be a detail or if this is some random floor plan, I want to know where it is. So I can actually click on a link, especially when it's current view only, and I can tell it to show the object. Well, at this point, there's no open views of my project that show that because I don't have that existing floor plan open. But Revit's going to go ahead and open up that view and find it for me. So it actually finds that link and shows it to me. So here's that link out here in the background. I can actually see some of the cyan lines coming from AutoCAD from some of that linked DWG. I don't have to know exactly where it is in my project browser if it's an unfamiliar project browser. All I have to know is that it's in this particular view. I can click on it, tell it to show it to me. Could be a detail, could be a floor plan, could be whatever. It doesn't matter. It's going to go ahead and find a view that will represent that to me clearly. So as long as it can, again, if it's turned off in this floor plan view, for example, then it would tell me that there was no good views for it. But at least I can find it, right? So there was a question that popped in a moment ago that said, what if I don't have the original DWG that's being imported? Can I have this tool create one for me? And the answer is, I believe, no, you cannot. This doesn't author a DWG. It's just going to let you path to one. So you would have to have some variation of an original DWG. Now, you could probably take the DWG that's an import. You could probably select it, copy it, paste it into another project, convert it to a DWG, and then use that. But you do need to have an actual DWG for this tool, the Import Link Manager, to actually browse to. Because when I'm doing the swap reload from, this process here is me browsing for a file, not the ability to create one. So, yeah. So in the case where there was also another question popped in and says, in the changing from an inserted file to a link, what does it do to the visibility graphic settings? If some of the layers were set to not be visible, for example, or there's possibly some view templates that were at play, the answer is, I believe it restores them and retains them. Now, I could be wrong. I haven't tested that directly, and I'll do some looking at this, and I have tracked who asked that question. I'll get back to you all on this later on once I've had a chance to test that out. It's not something I've tested directly, but I believe it retains them, and if I'm wrong, I'll put out a redacting of that and let you know that I'm wrong. It happens once in a while. All right, let me go through the process of reloading each of these real quick. I'm going to reload this B01 from the proper drawing file here, change this to a link, and I'm going to go ahead and OK this. I'll leave the majority of the settings the same. In this case, it was a little bit upset about some of those hatch regions. I'm just going to go ahead and tell it OK, not a big deal, and I'll take the O2 and do the exact same thing. Swap reload from, browse this out, and grab the, which one was that? Uh-oh. Was it the O2? I can't remember. Should have pulled this off to the side. Yep, it was the O2. All right, browse this out, grab the O2, and again, I'm going to make this a link, and I'll click OK. All right, so I've got them all now turned into links instead of imports. So I have now cleaned that little bit of my project. So I have potentially reduced some of my file size, which is good. Now, the next thing I want to look at here is, again, all of these links, except for this guy right here, which is current view only, and therefore is placed on the view work set. These are all placed on the interior work set, and I don't want that. I want these all to be placed on the CAD Links work set if they are as modeled objects in my project. So I'm going to go ahead and select those and change the work set from where it is right now to the CAD Link work set. And so it's going to change that work set for all 4 of those quickly to be CAD Link. That's pretty awesome. And then finally here, I'm noticing that the vast majority of my linked models here are not pinned in place, and I find that to be a little bit dangerous. I like having my linked information pinned so that I can verify that it's not going to move around on me. Some of them are pinned, some of them are not. But I'm going to take all of them, including my Revit links, and I'm going to make sure that they're all pinned. So I've modified that. And as you're making these changes, they're updated on the fly. There's no need for me to come up here and hit save anywhere. As I make these changes, it's done right away. So if I close this down, let's go ahead and take a look. I want to verify that some of these changes have taken place. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And this link here isn't going to work out so well because, again, this is current view only. Though it is pinned in place, that's good, but it's current view only, so it's based on the views work set. It acts like an annotation object or a detail object. But if I go to this level 1 floor plan, I have a CAD link in here as well. And if I click on this CAD link, this one is pinned. That's important. And check this out. The work set is actually CAD link. That's important. So that is an important step right there. If I go here to my third level again, I don't remember which this one was, if it was linked or not, and if it was pinned or not, but I can look at it here and say, yes, it's pinned, and yes, the work set is CAD Link. And then finally, if I go and find, I think my structural model is in here someplace. Let's go to my first floor plan over here, and I'm going to go to visibility graphics and see if my structural model is visible here. So structural, it is visible, that's good. I believe it is opened. Yep, they're all opened. So I should have my structural model in here someplace. I think it's here in the background. So if I grab that, there we go. This is on the Revit Link structural work set. And if I zoom out here, I believe this is also pinned. I'm not seeing the pin out there. Oh, I have the ability to unpin it, therefore it is in fact pinned. So I pinned this from that dial. There's the pin right there, little graphic for the pins in the middle of the overall boundary of this structural model. But yeah, it's been pinned, and all of that was managed here from the Revit Express Tools Import and Link Manager. So really nice tool, very simple in what it does, but you know, it does actually go through, lets you do, again, the pinning, the work set management, and lets, of course, it's current view only, lets you, you know, audit all what's going on inside of here and do the whole conversion for CAD files from imports to links, find what views they're in, and really set tasks for managing what's going on with your, especially your CAD links, that are a reality in our world of Revit here. So I don't think I have anything more for you today on this. This would be sort of one of those short cleaning your presentations, you know, cleaning your model presentations. I'm going to turn it back over to Nate here. Oh, wait a minute here. There was another question that popped in. I want to go ahead and answer that. Can link names be changed through this dialog box? So over here, we've got link names in the mix. And this actually does not allow me to author link names. So at the moment, it just uses whatever the link name is from Revit. You can, of course, augment those from the Insert Manage Links dialog. This one here does not actually let you change the names of the links. It uses whatever the file name is. When I'm converting this to a link here, you'll notice that it strips out the DWG when I converted it. Of course, the Revit links themselves come in as numbered links, but I cannot actually augment that here. That is what it is. Again, I'll do some looking into the what happens with visibility graphic settings when I swap from an insertion to a link later on. I'll give you guys all an update on that and some comments that get sent out later, so that you guys have a sort of an idea what that is. Oh, there was another question that popped in just a moment ago. It says, can this view be saved as a text file or brought into an Excel document to kind of give as a report to other team members, perhaps to give them tasks to fix in their models, for example. At this point, this list here does not have the ability to be exported, right? I can go to my little application menu. I was looking for an export option here quickly, but I'm not seeing an export option. So you could screen capture this, of course, just use like a screen cap and get a little image, but there is no ability to export this to a text document or to an Excel spreadsheet, though that is not out of the question. That actually was, if you guys have the Import Link Manager and it's a feature that you'd like to see, I encourage all of you, whenever you're using any of our tools and you want to have a feature that isn't there necessarily, or you're wondering about a feature, go to the application menu for the actual application that you're working with, the add-in that you're working with, and use this request feature option. This will send it directly off to our dev team. They'll get it on the wish list, and in some cases, some of those might be a really easy feature to actually, you know, build into the software. Now, there was somebody here who just put in the comments, oops, I think I maybe can do this here. There's the option here to possibly highlight this and copy and paste it. I'm going to try the Control-C option here and open up Windows or Microsoft Excel, make a new Excel document on my desktop real quick. We'll see if this actually works. I'm not sure if this is from one of my developers watching me today or what, but hey, look at that, copy and paste. It does work. So I can actually copy and paste this in here, and I can actually build up a report myself. See if I auto format this here. So yeah, you can definitely export this out using the copy and paste. This is a table, so I guess I should have thought of that. Anything that's table based inside of one of our apps, you can technically highlight those things and copy and paste them out. So yeah, copy and paste to Excel. That'll work. Which of course then you could kick out to a text file or whatever, but Yeah, this will give you all that information. Of course, you can't augment this and have it drive back into the app, which is fine because the app's better managed here anyway. But yeah, you can definitely get your report that way.